Hey everybody, it's me, John Ward, and welcome back to another Dark Park Film Reviews. And on this video and the next video, because there's going to be two videos on this, we are going to be looking at 31 horror remakes, sequels, and ripoffs that I think are good for Halloween. These are out of my collection, so I highly recommend all of these. The first video is going to have 16 movies to look at. The second video will have 15, and that will equal our 31. So basically, you can, I guess, for the rest of this month, since we're almost all the way through it, maybe do a marathon or save this until next year and watch one movie a day, and that will take you through the whole month because you'll have 31 movies to watch. Um, I did not want to do a typical video where I recommend the standard stuff that everybody recommends. I didn't want to do, oh, well, you should watch the original Halloween. You should watch the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something that was a little bit different. And even though I do own those movies, uh, I just felt that these ones here, at least these 16, really don't get represented for Halloween horror movies to watch. And so that's why I thought I'd try to do something a little different. So let's see if this works or not. So I got Blu-ray first, then we're going to get into DVD. All of these I recommend. And I hope you guys like them. Maybe you've seen some, maybe you haven't, and let's get into them. So, our first one here, and I think this is a good one to start off with, is an Amityville movie. And it is Amityville: The Awakening. I really enjoyed this film. It's, I guess you could call it a requel, and it is a sequel to the original Amityville that happened in real life. Uh, Basically, this disregards everything past like the real event because it says that the Amityville movies are movies. The event happened, but everything are all movies. And I like that. I actually kind of thought that that was kind of cool. It's very meta. I like that it brings up the books, it brings up the movies, and I enjoyed this quite a bit. It took forever to come out. It felt like 10 years. And when it did come out, I had to buy it on Blu-ray, and it didn't disappoint. So I highly recommend Amityville: The Awakening. Where this falls as far as a number goes, I forget. I don't know. It's up there. We've had like 100 Amityville movies now. This might be like number 20 or something. I'm not really sure. But it is a sequel. It is a requel to the original movie, and I think it is definitely worth checking out as far as one of the many, 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 many Amityville movies that are out there. The next one is, instead of watching the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or even its remake, how about Leatherface: The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3? This is my favorite sequel, and a lot of the times I actually would probably watch this over the original just because I've seen the original so many times. I really enjoyed this one. Some people may say part two is better. I think part three is better. I actually like that this was not shot in Texas, that it was shot in LA. So you kind of get that LA desert and the mountains and stuff. So it doesn't look like Texas. I kind of like that it has that different look. Um, I'm a big fan of the scene that takes place at the gas station that's near the beginning. For those of you out there who have seen my sequel, Meat Hook Massacre 4, there is a scene in kind of like a dilapidated gas station that takes place. And I put that in the film as kind of my own take on the gas station scene in this because I enjoyed this so much. And plus, just the history of this alone is really good. There's two versions of the movie on here, and then I have a like a burn of the bootleg of the, well, it's not a bootleg, it's the work print, and then I have a whole bunch of like behind the scenes and stuff like that too. So far, the work print is the best, and then it would go, unrated, and then the R-rated version that's in the theater. But uh, this is, I think, is my favorite of the sequels to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So if you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. So its history alone is worth it. So just in case, I'm pretty sure I already showed all this, but let's just do it again just in case. So if you're tired of watching the original Halloween and you want something different, how about a clone of Halloween that takes place on a college campus? I love this movie. I used to have the poster hanging up in my room. I own two versions of the soundtrack. I have it on DVD and Blu-ray, and that's Final Exam. I love this film. It's got a great poster on it too. This is pretty much Halloween. I mean, it is beat for beat, more or less, Halloween. And the character development in this is really good. So it is kind of a slow burn like Halloween. The killer is unknown. You don't know why he's there. You just know that he's in like an army jacket. So maybe he's like a vet who's gone kind of nuts. We don't really know. And it's just really, I think, really, really good. This is from Scream Factory. It's also Code Red, and it's got a bunch of special features and stuff on it. So I highly, recommend Final Exam if you haven't seen it. I think it was 1981. One thing, oh my God, this is one that they could never remake. If they did, they would have to make a completely different movie. Because there's a scene where it's a fraternity prank where they hop out of a van and gun down students with machine guns, and it's a prank. The students that are being gunned down are in on the prank, but oh man, that would never be done today. So yeah, this has got some stuff in it that is considered to be problematic today. But it's a great movie. I love it. I've seen it a few times. So Final Exam. Right now, this is all the rage. It was the #1 movie in the box office, a $2 million budget on part 3. It's made like 18 million. People seem to love it. And it's probably going to be knocked out of the #1 spot with Smile 2, which is fine. So I'm referring to, Terrifier 3. I love Terrifier 1, but my favorite out of the trilogy is Terrifier 2. And it's got its slipcase here. The film's not rated. Everything that people think is divisive about this movie, I love. Its length, the dream sequences, how almost cosmic horror-ish that it is near the end. I think Art the Clown is perfect in this. I was able to meet at Creep IE Aftermath, the convention, the director, Art the Clown, and our lead actress. I had them sign a Funko Pop for me, and I could not be more happy with this. I thought this film was perfect. I think it's absolutely an awesome movie. Oh, it actually has a quote from Stephen King here. Terrifier 2, grossing you out old school, Stephen King. So always good to have a quote from Stephen King. Just stop being so political, please. Just write books. Because that's why I like you, or your books, not your politics. But I think this is just an amazing movie. I have watched it 3 times, and it's got its slipcover, which is a little different than the. Let's see. Oh, there we go. And I just love this thing to death. I have no problem watching it pretty much anytime. There's my ticket for Terrifier 3. I kept it. So I think I love the Terrifier series. Ranking them, I would say 2, 3, 1. But then on other days, it could be, 2, 1, 3. We'll have to see. I've seen the first Terrifier 3 times. I've seen this, I want to say 3 times. And I've only seen Terrifier 3 once. I saw that in the theater. So once it comes out on Blu-ray, I'll probably watch it again and then maybe change my mind. I'm not really sure. But yeah, definitely love Terrifier 2. This one, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on, but that's okay. I love it. So this is more or less a requel to the first movie. There's 3 other films in the series. This is my favorite. And I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me on that, but I love this film. I love its directing, its editing, its acting, its music, its cinematography. I love this movie. I have probably seen it 4 times at least because I saw it in the theater, and I know I've watched it a few times on Blu-ray. Also got myself a couple Funko Pops for it, and got the soundtrack and all that stuff. And that would be the remake or requel for Candyman. I love this movie. I absolutely love it. And I know that some people think that it's racist because it deals with, I guess it depends on what side of the aisle you're on. But it does, there is some police brutality and things like that in here. And it does criticize or make fun of like white people and stuff like that. But then it also makes fun of minorities and things like that. So I think it's a little equal on everybody. Um, so I normally don't go along with woke movies, and I don't consider this to be one, but I think some people do. I just think that it is a really good film. We got a slipcover here with, yeah, it's the same on the front. What I really like about this is that it is a sequel to the first movie, but you can also watch the other 2, um, and it's fine. I like that there isn't just one Candyman, that there's many of them, basically different generations, different decades. Whenever there is some sort of injustice, like a brutal injustice, that there is a Candyman created, and that I think according to this, it started with Tony Todd's Candyman, but there are more in between from his Candyman to this Candyman. But I really, really like this film a lot, and I can always watch it. I'd like, Jordan Peele is, 3 for 3 with the films that he's directed. I love all 3 of his movies, and surprisingly, the Nina DaCosta, who directed this film, who I thought did such a great job, she made The Marvels, which I thought was an awful movie. I just thought it was so poorly made and just poorly written and poorly directed. It's a shame because I was really looking forward to what she would be doing next. So after The Marvels, she did go direct another film. So who knows? Maybe I'll like that one. But I think this is excellent. So our next one here is, didn't really care about the original when I saw it. I'm like, it was okay. And then I saw that they made a sequel, and I ordered it directly. I believe it was directly from the director is who I ordered this from. And I really enjoyed it. I really liked the sequel. It's Axeman 2 Overkill. So this is, and you can kind of see that he signed it here. I don't know if there's an official release for this, because this is, I got this from, from the director. And so this was probably excuse me, like an independent release of the film. It's funny, as I contacted him and I'm like, so I got you and I took a picture. I'm like, well, I got your movie. Thank you. But I don't know which one is Blu-ray and which one is DVD. They're just pictures. There's no, there's like nothing on them. It doesn't say the name of the movie. It doesn't say disc one, disc two. It doesn't say DVD or Blu-ray. I have no idea which one. He couldn't even figure it out. Um, and because it's been so long, I don't remember. I think he said, I think this one is, or I don't, but I don't remember. So I would like to get more of an official copy of this, but this is what I have for now. And I really did enjoy this one quite a bit. I thought that any mistakes or issues that were with the first film, they did much better in the sequel. They got it for part two. So that's Axeman 2 Overkill. Okay, so now we start the DVDs. I like the original one of this. I saw it when I was much younger and in the theater. And then out here in Vegas, there was a screening of the movie, like 6 months or whatever it was before it came out. And I was like, okay, there's no reason to remake this movie. Why would you remake it? And it has Rumor Willis in it, who's Bruce Willis and Demi Moore's daughter. And I'm like, this can't be good. This cannot be good at all. I went and loved it. And that is Sorority Row, the remake of The House on Sorority Row. I loved this movie. I love the dynamic between the sorority girls. This reminds me a lot of the first remake of Black Christmas, with all the, not the shitty second remake, that god awful one. No, pass on that one entirely. The first remake, second Black Christmas, the dynamic that is between the girls at the sorority and how they treat each other and how they treat other people, which is so mean and funny, I love. And in this one, it is done so well. I love the writing. I love the directing. The music is great. The soundtrack and the like the bands, like there's the score, then there's the soundtrack, and I own both of those. And one of the great things that I love in this is that the basically like the composer of the score took the songs and combined them with the instrumental music. So it could start instrumental, then it would go into the song, and then it would go back instrumental, or it would be flipped, or it would start with the song, then go into instrumental, and then go into like the song again. I love that. And normally when I'm writing my own stuff, or even I just driving, I'll download both those soundtracks. Like I'll put them onto like a thumb drive or something, and play them in the car. This is. There is a lot of I Know What You Did Last Summer in it, but I really like this. I probably would have liked to have seen a sequel, because it does end on a sequel. I just thought this was really good. I thought as far as a remake goes, this is really good. And the House of Sorority Row, the soundtrack for that is done by Richard Band, Charles Band's brother. So that's really good. This also has Carrie Fisher in it. And there are a few nods to the original movie. I would have purchased this on Blu-ray, and I probably will one day, but I wanted the slip jacket. The Blu-ray didn't have the slip jacket, so I wanted that. So I think they're all the same. Yeah. I absolutely, and surprisingly, Rumor Willis is the best thing in this movie. She is hilarious. And I was very surprised about that. She was my like, I don't know about this. But unfortunately, when I lost my Facebook account, I lost a lot of friends, and I was friends with the like the two writers. I was and I communicated with them how much I loved this film. I'd love to interview them. I'd love to interview the director. I just think this is, as far as a remake goes, is just awesome. So it's a remake done right. Even though it has very little to do with the original movie, it's the way that it should be done if you're going to change it. Our next one is kind of the same thing as Axeman 2, and this is Hayride 2. But Hayride, I was not really a fan of. I thought it was kind of boring. It is about a hayride, and there's the corn and all that type of stuff, and everybody gets murdered. Hayride 2, same thing with like Axeman 2. It's like they went back and looked at the original and fixed all the stuff that was wrong. And this one has a very Halloween 2 feel, like the original Halloween 2, John Carpenter's like Halloween 2. That it mostly takes place in a hospital. And I really liked that. This picks up, I believe, like more or less right where the first one ended. And then they take our killer here to the hospital, and he escapes and starts killing people in the hospital. I really like the sequel. So kind of like Axeman, excuse me, Axeman 2. I mean, always good to watch the first one and then hop into the second one. But if you only have time, definitely check out the sequels, because I think that they're much better. And I don't think a lot of people even know about the Hayride movies. I'd like to see a part 3, but to my knowledge, we have not gotten one yet. So this is I think, yeah, he was fans of the original won't be disappointed. And I would agree with that. The special features are just trailer. I really wish that this would have had audio commentary or behind the scenes. It would have been really nice to kind of see how they put this all together. This is another one where I would like to interview like the director for it. Okay, so this next one, I'm a little biased on, I have to admit, because I worked on part 3. I acted in it and I did crew on it, and I am very good friends with the director. So, but they take place at Halloween, and I like part 2 better than part 1, and I was in part 3. So that is the Rust series. So this is by Joe Lujan, and it's kind of a haunt movie. Like it takes place at a haunt, more or less. I really enjoyed 1 and 2, and got the absolute privilege and honor to work with Joe on part 3, and I believe he does want to make a part 4. So this is out of print. You can't get this anymore. This is even though it says Rust, this is actually a combination of Rust 1 and 2. It's amazing because when I was prepping for Meat Hook Massacre 4, I cast one of the actresses in this, who's Lindsay Cruz. She's in part 2. And I'm like, uh-oh, what I'm writing kind of looks like the trailers for 1 and 2. She's in part 2. Let me see if I can watch these, because I didn't want to just rip them off by mistake. And then Joe was doing a screening of them at this place called the Millennium Bar. And that's where I first met Joe. And I had some posters signed and all that. And I watched both of them and loved them. Absolutely loved them. And then when I heard that he was making part 3, I immediately contacted him. So like I said, I am a little biased. And I got to work with Joe many times now. I've worked with Corey Taylor. I've worked with, Tyler Kilgore, and I love these. But even though I'm in part 3, I still think part 2 is the best. I really like part 2, and that's the one that Lindsay's in. And like I said, she's also in Meat Hook 4. So if you have a chance, all 3 Rust movies are on Tubi, and they're separate. So where this one combines 1 and 2 together, you can watch them on Tubi separately. Joe will be releasing at some point all 3 films, and he's re-edited, he's added new scenes, so they're going to be very different than probably what's on Tubi, and if you find this, because this is Wildeye releasing. But yeah, I really like the Rust films. I think that they're really fun, and like I said, it's an absolute honor and pleasure to be part of this series. So our next one is probably one of the most insane, crazy zombie movies ever. And it depends on how you watched it from what company. So it's Zombie 3. This movie is insane. Um, this is from Shriek Show, and it's part of the Lucio Fulci collection. So this was in a box set that was with it's 3, 4, and 5. Dawn of the Dead, once again, depending on how you watch it, is also Zombie with an I. And then you have Fulci's Zombie with an E, and then Zombie with an I and a 2. And that's also from Shriek Show. So I guess you could watch it as the Dario Argento Italian cut of Zombie Dawn of the Dead. And then you would watch, then that's with an I, Zombie with an I 2, and then Zombie with an I 3. That's you can do it that way, because there's also Zombie with an E at the end, which is released by Blue Underground, I think, and then you have the regular version, which there's actually a few versions of by Romero for doing Dawn of the Dead. These are more voodoo or chemical spills or accidents that turn people into zombies. Like the original Zombie is voodoo. This one has more chemical spills, government stuff, corporate people in it. It's got a crazy soundtrack. Fulci was not feeling well, so he left the project. He eventually passed away, unfortunately. And other people like Vincent Dawn and other directors finished the movie. So it is chaotic. They do credit him, Fulci with the direction, though. Oh, and here it's Bruno Mattei is also listed as one of the directors. So there were a lot of things going on with this, which makes it a very bizarre zombie movie. I mean, there's a disc jockey that has a big twist at the end. There are zombie birds that were done before Resident Evil did them. There is a zombie head that when one of the people open up the refrigerator door, the zombie head just flies right at them. It's just a head. For some reason, it can just lift up and fly right at them, and it bites the person on the neck. Most of it takes place in like this small town inside a hotel. It is crazy. I mean, it is such a bizarre zombie movie. And it's once again, I got to say, if you want to kind of, skip Dawn of the Dead and Zombie because you've seen them so many times, check out Zombie 3 because it is crazy. The next one it also goes under the title of The Hills Have Eyes Part 3. To the original Hills Have Eyes, the Wes Craven ones, not the remakes. But it mostly goes with the title Wes Craven's Mind Ripper. So this is written by and produced by Jonathan Craven, Wes Craven's son. It's directed by Joe Gayton, and it is unofficially The Hills Have Eyes Part 3, which is why I bought it. And it sits next to the other 2 Hills Have Eyes movies. I did reach out to Jonathan Craven asking if it was possible to remake this as a Hills Have Eyes movie, and maybe even get like Michael Berryman as a cameo in there, to kind of connect all three movies. And I didn't get a response, which I wasn't really expecting anyways, because who am I? But it's a crazy movie. It takes place out in the desert, underground lab, and there's a mutant, and the mutant escapes and starts killing everybody. It's also got Lance Hendrickson. It kind of reminds me a lot of the Roger Corman produced film, The Terror Within. So maybe that's why I like it a lot. Which had more of a creature in it, but then The Terror Within 2 was more of a hybrid of like a creature and a man. So, which I also really liked. And this is kind of more of the hybrid thing of a creature and a man in it. So definitely worth picking up, especially if you like The Hills Have Eyes, because it is unofficially, part of the series. So there you go. This next one, I once again know the producer of this series. I am good friends with him. That is David Sterling. And I wanted to add Camp Blood 2 to this video. I really like Camp Blood 2. For the most part, I like all the Camp Blood movies. I'm even in one of the Camp Blood movies. I'm in Camp Blood 10, which is the animated one. I'm one of the voices of one of the main characters. And then there was kind of like a separate series called Axe Grinder, and I worked a lot on Axe Grinder too, which is, instead of a clown, it's like a jester, but it all takes place in the woods and killing campers and stuff. But this one I really like. Big fan of the first film, and then saw this one and became even a bigger fan. This one is it's Brad Sykes, and it's basically the lead actress is back from the first film, and there's like a production crew, like a film production crew, that wants to make a movie about what happened in the first film. And then they have the lead actress in the first film come back as a consultant, and the murders happen all over again with a guy in a clown suit. But I think that's probably why I like it a little bit more, is because it's got that the filming thing of it, wanting to make that movie. So I recommend Camp Blood 2 to people. I recommend the whole Camp Blood series. I have a bunch of these on VHS. I have a bunch of them on DVD. I have them on Blu-ray. I also have the box set of them all on Blu-ray, and they keep making them. So Will Clausel seems to be the guy that's now making these Camp Blood movies. I think Mark Polonia also is still making them too. They just came out with like a Camp Blood shark movie. I haven't seen it yet, but I'll eventually pick it up. But yeah, I think between Will and Mark, they've pretty much have kind of taken over the series in a way. So, but they're fun. I think that they're hit and miss, but they're all fun. Our next one lands in ripoff territory, kind of like Final Exam, ripping off Halloween, following it, kind of beat to beat. So it's not a remake, it's not a sequel, it's a ripoff. So this one falls into the ripoff category. And this is a movie from Thailand that I reviewed it with Jonathan Moody and Madeline Deering, and they thought I was going to hate it, and I ended up loving it, and I really enjoyed it. So I wanted to include it here, and that is Land Shark. I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me. Might be a second. This is a lot of fun. It is what its title says. It is a land shark. It swims around, and then it eventually hops up on land and starts killing a bunch of people. I thought this was a lot of fun. There's this great scene where the land shark is up on land here, and this little girl on a bicycle comes up to it. I thought this was a lot of fun. So if you're looking for a Halloween killer shark movie to watch, this would work. So it's also got its slip jacket. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, so it's fun. So, and mentioning, I think through, I want to say it's Ron Bonk's company, SRS, that Will Clausel is making something like Halloween Shark. So I guess probably for next year there actually will be a Halloween Shark movie. So you have a Camp Blood shark movie. Now you have a Halloween shark movie. So, I guess eventually maybe we'll have a Christmas shark movie or a Christmas Camp Blood movie, or who knows. So, but yeah, this is fun. Definitely worth checking out. I am a huge fan of Night of the Living Dead. If you've seen some other videos I've done, the original Night of the Living Dead is in my top 5 for one of my all-time favorite movies. It is my favorite zombie movie ever made. I love that film. I've seen it many times, and I own many different DVDs of it. I'm trying to find technically the worst copy of the film, because I think that's how it should be watched. It should be grainy and crappy looking, like a documentary. And when I lived in Pasadena, I lived right by a movie theater, and I saw up on the marquee, it said Night of the Living Dead 3D. And I thought, wow, that's weird. So they converted the original Night of the Living Dead into 3D. And I never got to see it, unfortunately. But it wasn't the original Night of the Living Dead in 3D. It was Night of the Living Dead in 3D, or Night of the Living Dead 3D. This is the 2D version. So this is a remake of Night of the Living Dead, because at the time it's public domain. Technically, it still is in public domain. It's just the Criterion edition is copyrighted. But it's still best these days to kind of stay away from that stuff. But this is a remake, and there are 2 versions of the DVD. So instead of them giving you both the 2D and 3D versions, you have to buy them separately. And the director of this, I saw that I was posting about it, and he goes, "Oh, you need to pick up the 3D version." And it's like, my TV is 3D. I got the whole setup. I just don't watch really anything in 3D. I tried it a couple times and was like, eh. So I purchased the 2D version. It does have Sid Haig in it, and it's basically it's the house that they're in is kind of it's like a pot house. It's like where they grow pot and sell. So they're like drug dealers. Um, and so it's got a little bit of a twist in it. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, it's good enough for me to recommend. So check that one out. Night of Living Dead 3D. Then we have, um, if you're a Howling fan, and I am, I own all the Howling movies. Um, I'm showing off this one because it is a sequel, but it is closer to the original novel than the original Howling. And that would be Howling 4, the original Nightmare. So this, and I always wondered, like, why did they call it the original Nightmare? And then I bought the book, read the book, and went, because this actually follows the book closer than the Joe Dante movie. It's a little bit of a slow burn. It is low budget. There is a great melting scene in this where a person melts, and that's how they become the werewolf. That's probably where their whole budget went, was that melting scene. But I really enjoyed this because it is closer to the book. I am a little more purist when it comes to things. Stuff like, Stephen King and other things. I just like movies that are closer to the book. The funny thing with this is I am pretty sure this is a picture from Howling 3, The Marsupials. I think that's correct. That's correct. I think. And that's correct. that actually even looks like a werewolf from Howling 3. So I don't know. This is Echo Bridge. So maybe they just took pictures from like they just typed in Howling or something, and pictures came up and they grabbed them without knowing the movies. But I don't think these are in the film. I know that one definitely isn't, because that's her giving birth in Howling 3. This also is the director of The Incubus, that film from the 80s. That's really cool. So that's another reason why I liked it. The screenplay is by Clive Turner. He eventually owned the rights to these movies, so his name pops up on a bunch of these. And then he directed the very last Howling movie. Well, not Howling Reborn, but the one that came before that. I think it's called like Bad Moon Rising or something. It's only come out on VHS. It's never come out on anything else. I own a copy of it on VHS, but I wish somebody would put out a box set of all the Howling movies. Would be great. Unfortunately, they're by different companies, but once again, if you don't want to watch the original Howling again because you've seen it 100 times, check this one out. Maybe compare the two, because they are different. So our last one here, and I'm glad this is the last one. So I'd mentioned Stephen King. I'm a massive Stephen King fan. Not a fan of him, of his politics, and I really wish that he would just stop the politics. I just it turns me off. If I agree with him or don't agree with him, I just think the whole politics thing it's just a turn off. And but I do love his books, and I'm a huge I collect his movies, and I collect all the sequels and the remakes and all that type of stuff. So I have a whole shelf of Stephen King. And this is probably, out of all of his movies, my favorite franchise. And that's the Children of the Corn movies. I love the Children of the Corn movies. This is the uncut and uncensored version. This was originally on Sci-Fi Channel. It is based off of the original screenplay that was rejected for the original Children of the Corn movie, the one with Linda Hamilton. They even asked Stephen King, I think it's in the making of, I don't think there's audio commentary, but there is behind the scenes, where they asked Stephen King if he would like to be involved with this because they're using his screenplay. And he just went, no, because he doesn't like the Children of the Corn movies. After the last one that sat on the shelf for almost 2 years, which I think is garbage, the newest Children of the Corn I thought was awful. He bought back the rights. So I don't know if we're ever going to get another Children of the Corn movie again. I think that he purposely bought back the rights, so you can't make more. But this, and I picked this one out of all of the other movies, is really close to the short story. There are changes because you got to turn it into a 92-minute movie. This is from Anchor Bay, so it's got some good special features on it too. But this thing is really close. I mean, our two lead actors here in the short story, they hate each other. They're getting divorced. This is like the last ride that they're doing. And the actress plays this role so well that you want to strangle her. And he's not much better, our lead actor. They do such a good job in this, because in the book, all they're doing is bickering and arguing and fighting. And it's the short story. So where in the original, Children of the Corn with Linda Hamilton, the couple in that, her and her husband, are happy. They get along. They more or less adopted the two Children of the Corn kids at the end. This is not that way. This is basically the book. And this is, a rebirth of the horror classic, now totally uncut and uncensored. One of the things that I really liked about this is it does take place in the 70s. So it takes place the same time as the short story. But our lead actor is a Vietnam vet. And so he's just come back from Vietnam. There is a scene near the end of the movie where he kind of goes nuts, and he's going through the cornfield, and he's basically kind of like hunting the kids, and the kids are hunting him. But what he's seeing are the Viet Cong. And so he's killing these kids because he sees them as like Vietnamese soldiers. I loved that. And so this would probably be maybe even more than the original, because the original is so far from the short story. This may be my favorite version. And it is a remake. It's not a it's not like a reboot or you know, like it's not like a requel or anything. This is definitely um a remake of the movie. The new one, which has like the female Isaac and then the female Malachi. We've had female villains in some of the other movies, which are done fine. These were not. To me, it just was not a Children of the Corn movie. They couldn't even say He Who Walks Behind the Rose. They just called it He Who Walks, because I don't think they had the copyright to do some of these things, because maybe that's what Stephen King bought the rights back, so they couldn't fully do a Children of the Corn movie. Things were way too different in that film. I watched it twice. I gave it a second chance, and I think out of all the Children of the Corn films, it's the worst one. Unfortunately, it will probably be the last one, but definitely check this one out. I really, like I said, I am a big fan of this movie. And but just know their bickering and all that is throughout the whole movie, more or less. So it's going to get on your nerves, because I think it's done so well. So, you know, but give it a shot. Give it a chance. Okay, that's all of them. That's all 16. So let's do a quick recap. So we got remake of Children of the Corn. We got Howling 4, the original Nightmare. We got Night of the Living Dead 3D remake. There is a sequel to this. Night of the Living Dead, I think it's also 3D. It's, I want to say Reanimation? God, I'm blanking on the subtitle for it. Night of the Living Dead 3D. Night of the Living Dead 3D. Let me see here. We'll do this quickly. Night of the Living Dead 3D. Reanimation. That's it. I knew it was something like animate, like Reanimator or something, but Reanimation. It's a prequel, and it's not as good. It does have Jeffrey Combs in it, but I don't think it's as good as this. So, but this one is worth watching. Rip-off territory for Jaws. So basically, you know, a Jaws rip-off is what Land Shark would be. So, Camp Blood 2 sequel. Wes Craven's Mind Ripper, unofficially Hills Have Eyes 3. Zombie 3, so another sequel. Rust 2. Remember, you can check these out on Tubi. Hayride 2, better than the first one. Sorority Row. This is how you make this, you know, how you do a remake correctly. I'd love to see a Sorority Row 2, but it's probably too long. You know, probably like, you know, this was made so far back. 2009. If they're, you know, if they were going to do a sequel, they should have done it maybe like a year or two after this one. But I still would have loved to have seen Sorority Row 2. Axeman 2 Overkill. So learning from the first film's mistakes, this is how you make a much better sequel, just like Hayride 2. Candyman Requel. So loved it. Thought it was awesome. Terrifier 2. Don't care what anybody says. Loved it. Best one in the series. Can't wait for part 4, maybe 5. Going back into rip-off territory, you know, rip-off of Halloween, Final Exam, excellent movie. And then Leatherface, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, I think is the best sequel of the series. And then we have our Amityville: The Awakening kind of requel, uh, sequel type of thing. Not a remake, definitely not. But takes place after the first. Well, it takes place after the events of Amityville, but it's a sequel to the actual events, but the movie is a movie. So and they even talk about it. So I think they even have they might even show in the film the box set that I have that has 1, 2, and 3, and then there's the documentary in it. I think that's even shown in here. I could be wrong, but I that's where I went. Oh, okay, these are all movies. All right, okay, so the events happened, but everything else is a movie. So definitely worth watching. Okay, everybody, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. If you want, put down below if you've seen any of these, if you like them. What are your favorite remakes, sequels, or ripoffs? Throw a couple down there. Let me know, because maybe I haven't seen them, and I'll check them out. Like I said, I still need to do one more video for these, and maybe next year I'll continue it or try something different with 31 movies. So, all right, thanks. I really appreciate it, and I will see you on the next video. Okay.